Carlin and Amanda. It's
Hi,
nice
Amanda.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
So, is there anything going on in your life currently that you want to talk about before we get started today?
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to graduate, and I'm like trying to figure out, kind of where I should be going next. There's just, I feel like so many different options, and so like I'm trying to figure out what it is exactly that I would like to do because it's, kind of getting real. So I'm kind of like starting to, I guess, freak out a little bit about it.
Okay, yeah, so you took this assessment hoping to kind of figure out more of where your current career interests may lie.
Yeah, just to kind of get like that broad idea, I guess, to learn a little bit more about where I should be looking and things like that.
Perfect. So I see that you took the Strong Interest Inventory Assessment. So we can go ahead and look at your results a little bit. So there are 6 themes within this assessment. There's conventional, social, artistic, enterprising, realistic, and investigative. You scored most highly on conventional, social, and artistic. So your theme code is CSA. So right here you can see your scores, and you scored the lowest on investigative. You got a 36 on that one.
Okay.
So was this assessment easy for you to take? Like, how was it in terms of that?
I guess it was easy in terms of just like completing it and things like that, but I feel like it was a little challenging because I was just like, it was challenging because I was like, I don't know, like, could I see myself doing this? Like, maybe, but I don't know, like, I could maybe like the work, but maybe not. So I guess maybe that's why everything was kind of in like the same range, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Did you find the terms easy to understand then, and like the ease of the assessment in that sense?
Yeah, like I felt like it was easy to understand. I think just the tricky part for me was when it would be like, do you want to work like in this particular like, like would you like to do like this particular task? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, like maybe sometimes I would want to, or like if I had to do it like just once, like okay, but if I had it to be my actual career or something that I did for 40 hours a week or something like that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I would actually want to do that. So I think that's where I was like most of the time, because I felt like with most of my answers, like there were very few where I was like, yes, I strongly agree, or I definitely want to do that. Most of mine were either like, yeah, I like this work, or no, I don't like this work. Like I didn't have very many strongly disagrees either. So
Okay.
I was just kind of like, I could see myself maybe doing it for a little bit, but not like for a long time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So maybe some of them you saw more as a high work interest, but some of them were more of just like a like general interest to you, or like a hobby kind of interest that you wouldn't want to stick with.
Yeah. It was. I just felt like with a lot of them, I was just like, yeah, I couldn't see myself doing that work for like as a career, I guess, which was hard because I mean there were like, however many responses that we had to give on the survey, like 300,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I felt like I'm hitting like I don't want to do this a lot, and so I was like, oh. I don't know what that means.
So it's a little bit long.
Yeah. I mean, it was long, and then just like the sense that I was like, well, I just internally noticed, wow, I've hit that I don't like this a lot. So I wonder what my results are going to look like, because it was like there were a lot of those, and maybe not so many. I like this, or I strongly like this, things like that.
Okay. So overall, then, how would you rate the ease of use of the assessment? Like with 1 being extremely easy and 5 being extremely difficult.
I felt like it was pretty easy to use. I, for the most part, really understood the questions and like the tasks that it was asking me to kind of take a look at. And I know it was nice because it would switch things up a little bit. Like it would ask a little bit about vocational things like tasks that you want to do, and then it would ask about like your different skills, or I think like work environment or things like that. So it was, not like too long, but I felt like it was just kind of that perfect length and the variety of the questions questions kind of helped a little bit.
Switching the categories around helps a little.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Let's dive into your results then. So like I mentioned, your results were CSA, conventional, social, and artistic. You actually scored the same on artistic and enterprise. You had the same score, so those were pretty similar. And looking at these results, how did you feel as though they fit you when reading more about them in these descriptions?
Yeah, I felt it's interesting that enterprising and artistic ended up the same, because I kind of feel like I'm maybe a little bit more on the enterprising side. I mean, just in terms of the things that I'm looking at for a career, like I can't really see like culinary arts or the performing arts or different things like that. So I would say like maybe a little bit more along the sides of, you know, maybe like marketing or management or something like that. That's probably a little bit more of a fit for me, but yeah, I could kind of see that.
Yeah. So why did you think that these were? Did you feel like the conventional and social ones fit you well? I'm looking at those.
Yeah, for the most part, I kind of felt like the social ones were a little bit better of a fit, just because I enjoy working with others and kind of having that human interaction sense, and also like just being able to help a lot. So things like working as a career counselor, or within training and development, like if I was thinking about something maybe in business, would be a better fit for me, or like something within education, as opposed to just kind of those like traditional business roles, like something like a financial analyst or an accountant or something like that. I felt like the social ones were a little bit more of my style, I would say.
Okay, so you think the more of like a helping profession is a better fit for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's look back at your top 5 interest areas. How did you feel as like that those aligned with you? It doesn't seem like the like counseling and helping profession popped up for you in there, but do you see yourself in things like human resources and training and athletics?
Yeah, I would say probably more the human resources and training, and maybe the teaching and education down there. The athletics one, I feel like that was one that I was maybe not as realistic about, because I think it asked, like, if you, like, how would you like to be, like, in auto racing or different things like that, and it's like, I mean, I'm from Indiana, so yeah, of course I'd love to be like a driver in the Indy 500, but I don't know how realistic that is. I know that that's not realistic, but I was just like, oh, like that'd be fun. And I mean, like athletics, it's something that I enjoy. I think is maybe like a side interest or a hobby or something like that. But I don't know if that would necessarily be like my top interest area in terms of work. But I would say, like, for the most part, some of the other ones, I mean, like we talked about, human resources and training or teaching and education would be good fits. Also, like, maybe something within office management as well.
So like you mentioned before, it's kind of, when taking the assessment, you were trying to think about your work interests as well as your just interests outside of things and hobbies, and so maybe your results kind of reflect a little bit of both of those things.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at your top 10 occupations. So, number 1 came up as career counselor, which you had already mentioned that would be something that might be of interest to you. I see a lot of your things talk about like teaching or specialist in management. So, again, you kind of mentioned that. Did any of these stand out to you? Did any of them surprise you? Or
yeah, it's kind of funny because the second one that's listed on here is Parks and Recreation Manager, and I had an academic advisor when I was a first-year student, and I was like trying to figure out, even back then, what I wanted to do, and I thought I wanted to do something related to business, and she was like, well, like, why don't you think about like something that you enjoyed when you were, like like younger, like as a kid. And I was like, well, I don't know, I like sports a lot or something. I forget exactly what I said. But she was like, why don't you go into like parks and recreation, like in terms of management and things like that then? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think that that's really a fit for me. So it's like kind of funny to see like, well, like according to the answers that I put, maybe that is a little bit more of a fit. But yeah, just kind of with the other ones, yeah, I think it falls kind of in line with kind of what I thought it would be, like in terms of like management, I guess, or maybe something related to helping others, like within education or counseling and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything that you maybe expected to be on that list that didn't end up on there?
I thought maybe there would be a little bit more in education. So I can see a few, but yeah, I thought that maybe there would be more in terms of like, I guess like teaching occupations perhaps, but like I'm not too surprised with how it turned out on that, at least on the occupation side.
Mm-hmm. So you think that these kind of fairly describe what where your interest may lie in this?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good representation. I think especially like if I am thinking about going into the business side of things and maybe not doing like something related to like grad school or something like that, having kind of those jobs that it's like, okay, you need a bachelor's degree to do that. Being able to look back at that and say like, okay, I'd want to learn more about these or different things like that.
All right, perfect. So let's see. So I want to look a little bit more at the artistic versus enterprising, since that kind of seemed like an area where they were the same score, and so you thought maybe enterprising, but you got an artistic, even though that was the theme code it gave you. So how do you think that it lays out within these different areas?
Yeah, so again, I think it's just like with the way that I see it, my skills align a little bit more with the enterprising. So some of these positions that are listed under the artistic code, I think especially the ones related to, like, I guess, like, specifically art, like something to do, like, with a musician or an arts and entertainment manager or a graphic designer, maybe that could be something that's more like a hobby or a secondary interest, but I don't know, especially at this point, because I haven't really taken any courses or anything like that related to those areas. That's probably something where if I wanted to pursue something in those areas, it would just be something as like a hobby. Like I couldn't see myself like actually going back and like getting a degree in or like transitioning to those fields. Whereas something like, yeah, if we look down here, we've talked about like human resources a lot, but like something like that, or maybe, something like a marketing manager or something like that, or operations. Like I feel like based on kind of my degree path and like the courses that I've taken and the experiences that I have, I might be able to easily start in those positions. So yeah.
I think it's very important that you're able to see kind of where, be able to look at this and find out that this might fit you a little bit better than the other one. So to be able to analyze your own results as well is very important. It seems like you kind of have a good understanding already of where you might want to go once you graduate. So was this able to help with anything futuristically?
Yeah, I think it was nice because I was like, well, I'm still trying to figure it out, like, and maybe hopefully this inventory will kind of help flesh out those interests a little bit. And so I think it's almost as nice to have like, okay, these are things that maybe like I don't need to look at. So something related to like realistic, like doing like engineering or something like that. It at least helps like narrow things down at the beginning, and then like having the list of ones where it's like, okay, this is one where you scored highly on this, so maybe you should look a little bit more into this. Like that's helpful to at least give me like a starting point, and then I can just kind of take the search from there.
That's very nice. How do you feel that this personal style scale fit you? Do you think that these 5 statements describe you accurately?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I prefer working with people, kind of having that team aspect, and so that
number 5
definitely
as well.
yeah. So working with
Perfect.
people and working in teams, yeah, I think that's definitely true. Seem to prefer learning through lectures and books. I would say that that's sort of true. I feel like ideally that's how it should be probably for me, but then I know there are other times where I'll just kind of dive into a project or assignment and just kind of start going at it, and then I'll be like, oh, maybe I should look at the instructions or different things like that. So I would say maybe that's a little more hands-on than the inventory indicated. Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of going off of point 3. So being comfortable both leading by example and taking charge, I feel like that's probably more related to kind of how I typically operate than the other points that are on there. And then dislike taking risks. I would say for the most part that's probably true. I think it's just pretty based on context. So, I mean, most of the time I would say, yeah, like I enjoy kind of keeping it to where like whatever the precedent is set as, but like every now and then, if it's something where I have to make my own decision or different things like that, I will if I think it would be beneficial or help others, I would say.
So from my understanding, these seem to pretty accurately describe you, maybe like a little bit more hands-on learning, but you do think it's important to learn things through lectures and books as well. Everything else seems to pretty accurately describe how you would describe yourself, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Perfect. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about from your results, or anything else you wanted to mention before we kind of close things up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing for me, like, looking on this, like, I noticed that there are a lot that are kind of in, like, that middle range, so I guess I'm interested to see, like, if I took the test again later on, like, oh, would this solidify, or it kind of shows that I think I'm still kind of in that, like, that middle range and still trying to, like, work things out, But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like the leadership style one is literally right in the middle. So yeah, I guess I'm still working out kind of like who I am like on that side of things at least, and also I guess with the career assessment as well. Like I would be interested to see like how that changed, I guess.
See if things become a little more clear on either side of things.
Yeah.
Seems like your team orientation one is the one that, that was the first thing you mentioned was you like working with teams, so that makes sense. So
yeah, I feel like that one's probably going to stay the same. I've kind of always been like that, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe over time as you take it again and learn more about yourself, maybe those things will become more clear and less of like a mid-range score then.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Nothing that I can really think of.
Okay. So what are some, what's like the biggest main thing that you think you're going to take away from this assessment?
Like I said a little bit earlier, I think just having that general idea of at least kind of career clusters to kind of take a look at. So it sounds like, maybe something more in education, but maybe like also like helping folks like in terms of like training within like the private sector or different things like that. So like I think I just need to look a little bit more at what's out there, but it at least narrows it down to a few different sections as opposed to
Okay.
like just a whole variety of things that are just completely like on one side of the spectrum, like, you know, helping people as a counselor versus being a chemist, like things that are on the complete opposite side. So I think that kind of the inventory helped me kind of rein it in a little bit more.
Okay, I'm glad that was able to help you kind of narrow your career projection down a little bit. How would you rate your overall experience with this assessment now that we've kind of reviewed everything?
I would say that it was pretty good. I think the thing is just like, I guess with the code and like the different letters, there were like a few that I was like, oh, that, you know, maybe is right, but I feel like maybe there are others that are more right. But I mean, I think it just kind of depends on when you're taking the test, like almost like what mood you're in and different things like that. So, but overall, I'd say it was really good.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing that I can think of.
All right. Well, it was really nice meeting with you.
Nice meeting you too.
Thank